Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hit and Hustle from IrishSportsDaily.com. I'm your host, Greg Flammang, and with me, as always, is Jeremiyah Uyeyama, Mr. Jamie University. It is Tuesday, March 11th. We've got a buy or sell show for you today. It's going to be about Notre Dame football. Some of it's kind of bigger picture, and a lot of it's kind of heading into spring, right? With kind of some spring column predictions, column whatever takes. I'm going to throw those at Jamie. I just showed them to him. He didn't see them before, but I'm going to throw them at Jamie. Get talking about the football team, and it's going to be fun and spirited. So that's going to be the bulk of the show today. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you like what you hear, please hit that like button. Please hit subscribe. Please hit the notification bell so you know whatever it is. We go live. Links to the podcast are in the description below. And as always, the show is brought to you by ESQ Clothing, founded by Notre Dame alum Ge Wang. You've seen ESQ on all your favorite Notre Dame players and coaches. With over a decade of making the best custom clothing available, ESQ will help you look and feel your best in 2025. From a perfect fitting suit, shirt, coat, or bomber jacket, or the perfect tuxedo for wedding season, check out Ge's amazing work at esqclothing.com. Book an appointment to upgrade your wardrobe today. Mention ISD and get 10% off your entire purchase. On Thursday, Jamie, when we do our show, I'm going to try to see how this best fits, but after our show, I'm going to do a live show with Dara. We're going to do a live Dimes with Dara show. The women's basketball team is in crisis, Jamie. Things are not trending the way you want them to be trending in March. So I'm going to talk to Dara about that. Your thoughts, Jamie? It's truly a stunning development on they were crushing teams. And now they're playing like a mid-table ACC program. It doesn't look good, Jamie. I don't know what to make of it. What are your thoughts on that situation right
now? They're too sloppy with the ball. I mean, they've been even when they were winning all those games.
Yes,
they're way too sloppy. The turnovers it's a huge problem. And obviously, Olivia Miles can be magic or whatever, but I think he's often too loose with it sometimes. Like, hey, you're in the open court. I mean, do your thing.
Got to value the ball.
I think half court offense is their biggest problem, to be honest, because they obviously can run and transition. They turn the other team turns the ball over every single one of these games that they've lost recently. Like, they've created turnovers.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think the NC State game was they were just on fire. Like, it was just like that. Like, they just, in terms of what they did and like the free throws and stuff like that, it's like, they're not going to miss a single free throw.
The NC State game, in my opinion, was just standard. You were on another team's home court. They played a great game. You played well and you lost, right? Like, that's the sort of thing. It happens in basketball. Right?
Yeah.
Hard to go undefeated. The rest of it, after that, it hasn't even looked like that game, right?
No. And I think like they don't. Why don't they run pick and roll better? Like, when you have those guards, you have those guards. Like, I don't understand that. Especially because I think Hidalgo and Miles both have they're kind of perfect for that. Like, I guarantee you, Olivia Miles is going to run pick and roll like 5 million times a game when she plays in the W. Like, I don't know why. Like, they high screen, but then it's like there's never any kind of roll or whatever. It doesn't seem to me. And whatever. I'm not a basketball expert, whatever, by any means. I'm just saying, like, when I watch them in the half court, I'm like, it seems so much of their offense is like, hey, someone bailed them out with a shot here.
Yeah.
Or I mean, I don't even know what the team would do without Sony Citron. I think she's like, to me, she is like fills in so many gaps for them, but she can only do so much. And
she's only meant to do so much. The thing you kind of, touched on is like the half court offense. And, it's funny, like, speaking of Sony, she gave a quote in, I think it was post Duke when they lost in the semis. And she was saying like, yeah, like we want to get out and run and we don't want to play in the half court. And I think it's kind of like you know, I know Sony doesn't love talking to the media. It's kind of a sloppy quote in terms of like using a term like we don't want to play in the half court. Like I think she means something other than what she said, but
probably against Duke, because if you look at when they beat Duke last time, when they had to play a slowed down game, that's Duke's game.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that like, but that being said, like the talent that they have on their team, they should be a very good half court team. There's no excuse for them.
No way they should be.
Yeah. There's no excuse against any team. Duke would love to have their pieces to play in the half court, I just think they should be better at that. And it's obviously hurting them. So, look, they are now in a situation where if they lose again, the season's over. And, it's just, that's where it is. They are, this is the kind of thing that I thought might be the case early in the season when they were trying to figure out like the new pieces with Leah too. And Liza was hurt and Maddie and like everything was clicking. And that's the thing that's weird to me is that everything was clicking and then it just has fallen apart and they don't seem to have answers. Really the wrong time of year for that. So, but we'll talk to Dara more about that on Thursday. So you guys are going to want to look forward to that sort of thing. So let's do some buy or sell, Jamie. No, dude, we're not doing that.
Chris, if you're just going to be here and do this, you always just dominate the conversation here. You're just going to get banned. So just don't be like that. Don't be like that.
Don't be like that. We're doing the buy or sells. We're doing the buy or sells. Let's start with quarterback, Jamie. Let's start with quarterback. Buy or sell. Okay. Steve Angeli is going to be the odds-on favorite to start post-spring. Now, I don't think there's any way Marcus Freeman names a starter after the spring is over.
Yeah, zero chance.
I think there is a way for the team and the players to know, like, hey, this guy, he's probably going to start for us, right? Do you buying or selling that Steve Angeli finds himself in that situation post-spring, that it's kind of known he is going to be the quarterback? And I'm asking about him specifically for a reason, and I'll get to that in a second. So buy or sell, Steve Angeli is the odds-on favorite to start post-spring at quarterback.
I was going to say buy, but I think I'm going to switch to sell because I was going to say buy in the fact that I think when they come out in August, Steve Angeli will still be the guy running out with the ones at the beginning of August. The first guy. Right. So I think that's what I kind of envision happening for him is that he will do well enough to kind of maintain that. But I also think like what you're saying, I think, and I don't know for sure if it's going to be Minchie or Carr. I would lean probably towards Carr, but so the reason why I would say sell is because I think one of those guys is going to have just enough of a jump in the spring that it's going to be like too tantalizing to be like to not envision these guys as the starter. And what will probably happen is one of these guys will, it's going to kind of work itself out. I mean, I don't know if all three will be still there in the summer. It would be great if they were, but who knows? We'll see. But I think that's kind of how I see it is that, whether it's Minchie or Carr, one of those guys is going to be the guy that everybody's talking about will be the starter for Notre Dame.
Buy or sell. Okay. Buy or sell. Steve Angeli is on the roster when fall camp starts.
I'm going to say buy. Okay. He is.
Why? Yeah. Why would he be on the roster? If he is
No, because I think it's going to be a situation where he is still going to get those reps and all that and still be like, you can still win it. And I just don't know. There are places that I'm sure that he could go and be a starter in the spring portal. I'm sure. I don't think those are going to be attractive places. So I think that has something to do with it as well. Like I certainly wouldn't blame him or anyone if they were like, I don't think that I'm going to win it, whatever, right? But I don't think it's necessarily like, I don't think it's going to be set in stone where it's like, well, it's clearly like, Angeli, you don't got it.
Yeah. So I guess from his perspective specifically, I don't know that he can go to the summer or fall and be in a situation where it's like I could still win the job, because his time is running out. Like he can't burn a year on the bench at Notre Dame. And even if he's in a situation where, and by the way, like I hope they all return. So I'm not, this is not me rooting against anything. We're just having a conversation here. And I'm speaking frankly about what I think his situation is if he's like even in a spot where it's like I could still win the job, I'm neck and neck with whoever. Can he keep it? Can he keep the job? Like, does he know that if I play a bad game, or like if I have a Riley Leonard NIU game, I am not going to start again. You know what I mean? Like they are going to move on to somebody else because of the younger guys behind. We know they love CJ Carr. We know they want him to stick around. It's like, I think for Angeli's spot specifically, if he isn't like, hey, you're the guy, you're clearly the guy in his mind, and it's kind of obvious, he's got to seriously consider going somewhere, right? And look, maybe the options aren't very good. Like there do have to be good options. You know what I mean? Like he can't just, we're saying this, I don't know where he can go. I don't know what's open to him, but I just think him specifically, I do think he has to move on if he doesn't know I'm going to be the starter, because CJ Carr is just sitting there. He is there. They are going to want to play him. I don't think they can go through 2025 and not know what CJ Carr can do in a game. So for me, it's like I'm selling on both of these.
Well, they can if Kenny Minchie wins the job.
Well, right. But what I'm saying is like he's still younger than Angeli is. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like it just, for him, his spot, it's kind of difficult.
One thing I think was interesting is the last year, because Leonard didn't really practice for pretty much all of spring last year. Angeli kind of got to be QB1 all spring. Yeah. And it was a tougher thing because that was like they were transitioning to Mike Denbrock's offense. So people were learning an offense. Faison wasn't around, the whole spring. I basically was like Jaden Greathouse and then like Micah Gilbert, and it was not much after that. But then I think if you look at it this year, Malachi Fields obviously in there. Pauling's going to be limited. But I do think they have more receivers to kind of throw to. But it just, Angeli struggled against Notre Dame when he went against Notre Dame's starting defense. He struggled. Like he did not play very great. So, I don't know. To me, that's kind of like, I know, and it's different because it's a new thing, and there's all these guys sitting out and stuff too. But there's going to be, it's hard because I don't know if it's all going to be on like even ground based on kind of all of these other factors that with it. But like, just I would have personally liked to see Angeli just be like a little bit better than he was last year. And then obviously it's a year difference, and he went in against Penn State and did pretty good. Right. So, but I don't know. I really am interested to kind of see every single throw is going to be graded. Every single thing is going to be there. And it's a lot of pressure. And I don't know. I mean, to me, it's one of these things where you always look at it, and there's been plenty of these other, quarterback. It's been a while since there's been a quarterback competition, a real quarterback competition at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
But like, it kind of just seemed to like sort itself out like pretty easily. Like the guy who was the favorite kind of it just was going that way the whole way. And I don't know, like, if it's going to be that simple there. And that's probably why I think that, like, he might stick around, but I certainly, I wouldn't blame him, as you said, if he's like, well, I kind of need some certainties.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he's got to play. He's got to play. And he's now just burning years of eligibility because he's already redshirted and he's already done all that. He's just burning it. So, it's a tough spot. It's a tough spot for the staff. Three quarterbacks in the spring. It's very hard. They're going to have red jerseys. You don't want to get anyone hurt.
Well, 4, and then, I mean, sorry, Blake. He's going to get no reps this whole spring.
He's not going to get anything. Like he'll get have fun in Indy. Like he's not gonna get much. So the reps are going to be very limited for all of them. Really, 3 guys. It's just it's tough. So we'll monitor that situation. Buy or sell. After 2025, Jeremiyah Love will be widely considered the best Notre Dame back ever.
The best ever is extremely lofty. I'm going to sell just because I don't think his numbers, I think he's going to have great numbers. Don't get me wrong. And he's going to have a great year. But I just don't think that you're going to look at his numbers. I know he rushed for 1,000 yards last year. And he's probably going to rush for, I don't know, whatever, 1,400, whatever. It's going to be, could easily be. But I mean, also wouldn't be surprised if he rushed for 1,000, just 1,000 again or whatever, because I do think they kind of like are going to spread it out. I don't know if they're going to like totally feature him that way. I think by the end of the year, I will buy that he will be considered the most talented back to ever play at Notre Dame. That's what I will buy. But
who can't he catch?
Who can't he catch?
Yeah, like who will be considered like, oh, like he was a better back at Notre Dame than Jeremiyah Love?
I mean, it's one of those impossible questions because there's all these people that if you brought it up on like ISD's message board, they would bring up guys that none of us watched, that we didn't really like get a chance to really watch. I mean, I would think like if you're talking about like modern era of like 90s on, I would say better than Josh Adams. Yes. Better than Audric Estime. Yes. Better than Ricky Waters. I don't know. Then it gets a little tougher. I know Ricky had some other problems, whatever, but
he's
great player.
Also he was not a numbers guy, but because of the nature of the way they played offense at the time, right? Like no one in that era rushed for 1,000 until I think the first from 88 to 92, the first 1,000-yard rusher was Reggie Brooks in 92. I think I'm almost positive that's correct. I think the leading rusher on the 88, 89 teams was Rice himself.
Yeah, they spread it out, and they had so many backs.
Yeah,
fullbacks getting a ton of yards and stuff. And
so Chris Sabo brought up Denson, and here's the thing with Denson, right? Like he had the longevity, right? He's the 4 years that he had. He was Notre Dame's starting back. Jeremiyah Love is a better football player than Autry Denson. He just is. Right?
I don't even think it's close.
Yeah, just from a home run ability standpoint, like if Jeremiyah Love played on those 95, 96, 97, 98 teams, his numbers would be astronomical. Like so, I don't know, man. To me, it's like one of those things. Like I think after this year, you put, I mean, you could even say now, like you put him in a game, or you say, hey, like hypothetical game, the best Notre Dame team you could ever put together. Who do you want at running back? It's hard for me to say not Jeremiyah Love, like why wouldn't you want him?
You would want him based on kind of like all the boxes he checks, because what he has that Kyron Williams doesn't have is, I know. Yes, I remember Kyron ran took it 65 yards to the house against Clemson, and he had the 90-yard run too. But Love has a different gear in speed, and that is probably the thing. But right now, I would say, I'm thinking about it. I think Kyron Williams is one. I just be honest. I think he's the best.
You would take him ahead of Jeremiyah Love
right now. I would. I think Love has to have. To me, it's like, I don't know. He has to have a really just like special where he's like, because I don't think Kyron got really enough love. Really, I mean, he did. People liked him, but like it was like,
see what you did there.
He didn't get enough credit for how good he was, especially because the second year his line was atrocious, right? So
it's hard because Jeremiyah Love is so clearly more physically talented. That's the problem. The other part with Kyron is he did things in the passing game we just simply have not seen from Jeremiyah Love yet. And it's one of those things where it's like Jeremiyah Love is clearly a better football player, but if you look at like what Kyron did, like again, as a receiver, as a pass blocker, taking screens as far as he did, running route, like all the things that they want to do.
Unbelievable receiver too.
All the things that they want to do with him, with Jeremiyah Love, they did with Kyron, and he actually did it. You know what I mean? So like, it's again, Jeremiyah Love is better than him, right? He just is.
He's more talented.
Yes. But Kyron did it. So that's where you can kind of get into like, he did do the thing, right? Like he did. And so to me, it's kind of like an Xavier Watts, Kyle Hamilton thing, where Kyle Hamilton is a better player than Xavier Watts is. Kyle Hamilton is the best Notre Dame safety they've ever had from a talent standpoint. But like he had kind of a Ben Morrison career where it's like he was so clearly good, got hurt, and didn't get to have the moments, because he wasn't available. Xavier Watts did, because he never got hurt and he was always out there, right? And his team went to the title game, so it's that kind of situation where like I think Xavier Watts is Kyron Williams in this situation. Kyle Hamilton is Jeremiyah Love in this situation where like
that's a good comparison. Also, I think with this argument too, I think you're selling me because I'm going to say bye, because I just do think they are going to try. I mean, you'd be dumb not to try to feature him as much as possible in terms of like him in the passing game too. Like he should be featured more in the passing game. So from that perspective, I think he's going to have more of a Kyron production type year. And just, I think it's kind of going to be undeniable that if that happens, that's the case. So, if he's healthy, that will happen. Also, if that happens too, he should 100% be a Heisman contender.
He might be, let's get the campaign started. Buy or sell. Eli Raridon has a better receiving season than any of Mitchell Evans' receiving seasons. So obviously not last year for Mitchell Evans, but you're looking at the 2023 season when he had Sam Hartman. Let me just pull this up. I should have had it ready to go, but I didn't, and I apologize for that. 2023 receiving. Mitchell Evans, he had 29 catches for 422 yards in 2023. That seems low to me. but it is what it is.
Well, he was
one
hurt.
touchdown.
He was
I guess.
hurt
Oh yeah,
because-
he did get hurt. He did get hurt.
Yeah.
After week 8 or week 7 or whatever it might be.
So I think if you look at, because it was like yards per game, he basically was like double up of like,
So basically he's at
2.8 yards per game,
Yeah.
and then he was compared to 20.
So on a 12-game season, we're talking like 48 catches. Let's do 53 for 636 yards. So 48 catches, 636 yards, right? Eli Raridon will have a better receiving season than that next
Yeah,
season.
I'm gonna say I'm buying that.
Okay.
I think it's gonna happen.
Let's go. Let's talk about it.
Well, I think I don't think because first of all, it helps them. I mean, it doesn't help the team that Flammang is coming off the Achilles, but I think
he's
Flammang,
the clear guy.
Yes, he is the clear guy. And that was one of the things with Mayer was, he obviously had that first year, he still put up numbers, right? And he was, a true freshman. It's still pretty incredible.
Yeah,
he still put up numbers, but there was also Tremble there and Brock Wright and whatever. So it was like he wasn't getting all the snaps, right? Raridon, I think, is going to play just like I don't think he's going to leave the field very much. So, and I just think that he has more. I think he's a better athlete than Evans, right? Like he's a better athlete.
Agree.
I think he's and Mitchell Evans is a good athlete and a monster. He's a huge, big size guy, and obviously got great ball skills and can get vertical and all that. But I think he has more juice after the catch to kind of do some things and also to like thread vertically more. So I think I could see him having like just like an absolute monster year that is closer to Michael Mayer numbers. Not in total like volume in terms of whatever, but just in terms of like, hey, this guy's getting like 60 yards receptions per game and like scoring like 6-7 touchdowns, whatever. Like maybe more, like I think that's definitely on the table, and I think it's actually kind of likely to happen as long as he stays healthy. Because the other thing is like his first 2 years just got screwed because of the knee, and I think he just really took off, and I think he's ready to kind of explode. And I think he's been kind of ready for a little bit. It's just that you weren't going to be like bench Evans. Evans obviously had earned that his opportunity. So but I do think this is going to be a big year for him.
Yeah. And plus it's like, I think for players, and this could be the case, for some other guys as well. Like when you don't have anyone in front of you, right? Like, I think you view yourself different. You view yourself as a different kind of option, where it's like when you're Eli Raridon, it's like, I'm not going to get those numbers because Mitchell Evans is here. Whereas now it's like, I could get the bulk of every snap, and I could get the bulk of every catch, and things of that nature. And I think that kind of frees you up a little bit to be like, okay, I'm going to be the man now. Whereas before it was hard to see yourself being the man. So yeah, I think we're both pretty excited about what Eli Raridon can be in 2025. Buy or sell, a Notre Dame receiver surpasses 1,000 yards in 2025.
I'm going to say sell, just because I think they'll probably be it'll be just under.
But also the last one is 2019 with Claypool, and he had just over 1,000. He had 1,037.
So I think, and I also think that there's a chance that like they could have like one guy get like 900, another guy get like 750 or whatever. I do think the numbers for the receivers are gonna go up when we're talking about receivers, and I think people can be fairly critical of like receiver recruiting. Not to get Chris Sabo started here, but like you can be critical of it. It's also very hard to recruit receivers when you're like, hey, our guy, we played 16 games. Our leading receiver had 500 yards.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, we didn't really throw the ball down the field last year, or we didn't do this. There's been a lot of that, right? So I think that's one of those things where you have to. I just don't think it's likely because someone's going to have to get the volume there and be that big of play of a guy. So Fields, I think easily I could see him getting like another kind of like 700 to 800 yard season. I could see Jaden Greathouse having that same kind of season. 1,000. Hold on. I'm just going to look how many actual receivers in college football had 1,000 yards receiving.
1,000 yards.
There were 28. And okay, one of them was Egbuka, who played obviously 16 games.
Yeah.
Right.
And so he went over 1,000 in the national title game.
Yeah. So, that is.
It's like 63 yards a game for him.
Basically, so there's 28 guys and all. So if you think of like Matthew Golden, who played, it's going to be a first round pick, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be a first round pick from Texas. Played 16 games too because they played the extra SEC championship game.
Oh, wow. He didn't even make it.
And he had 987. So it kind of just shows like how hard it is to actually do it. Like Tyler Warren had 1,200, obviously put a monster year there, but he's like, well, I mean, their receivers had 0 catches against Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl. You know what I mean? Like they had, like he was their guy, right? And they threw to the backs a ton too. Like he had such a high volume that it's just really hard to kind of get there. Like I even think like, because even if you go through all of like the BK years of like the 1,000-yard receivers, it's like Boykin didn't have 1,000 yards.
No.
Right.
No.
It was Fuller twice.
Fuller and TJ Jones, I believe.
TJ Jones and Claypool.
Yeah.
And that's it. And I just it's hard. Yeah. It's hard. Like, so I think 800, 900, it's on the table. 1,000, I'm going to sell.
Ryan Williams didn't have 1,000 yards. 865. One of the guys who had 1,000 last year, Josh Kelly. Remember that? The player that they were thinking about. He had in 12 games, he had 1,023 yards for Texas Tech. That would have been nice.
Yeah.
Would have been nice if they had him. Yeah, I just think for whatever reason it doesn't lend itself. Like what other like run first programs have 1,000-yard receivers, right?
A lot of air raid guys probably that are the 1,000.
A lot of air raid guys, right? Like I'm just looking like Arizona State, like Penn State with Tyler Warren. But then again, like he's 104 catches.
How many 1,000-yard receivers? That's what I want. How many 1,000-yard receivers has Penn State had? And they've had some pretty good receivers, over the years. But I don't think they've probably had too many. Like Tyler Warren.
Going back to 673.
Jahan Dotson.
Jahan Dotson, 1182 in 2021. And
Chris Godwin only had 982. Yeah. He was friggin' amazing.
That's basically it. So you just like it just doesn't lend itself to that kind of production, which is fine, right? Like it's not the worst thing ever.
It can. I mean, obviously, Will Fuller did it twice. This guy's pretty awesome. Like it can happen, but
plus, like also like he's a huge big play guy.
It's because it's a big play. You have to be like someone who averages like 17 plus yards a catch. To do it. So. That means you got to throw down the field a lot. So,
and Notre Dame,
I think they will
they'll do it more next year. Maybe they'll do it more next year.
Obviously, they had a couple of 1,000-yard guys with Jade Daniels at LSU with Denbrock, right? So, I think now I want to look to see if Alec Pierce was a 1,000-yard receiver, but it's just one of those things. Like if you have the right quarterback and you have the right receivers in place, yes, it is possible. But I would think that it's not you know, I would sell, and I feel pretty confident that.
So in 2021, Notre Dame, the last time they had like a throwing quarterback, right? With Jack Cohn. I mean, I guess you could look at 2023 as well. Sam Hartman, he threw the ball a lot. Let's see. Notre Dame had 54 passes of 20 plus yards, 17th nationally in 2023. They had 50 in 2021, so that was 30th nationally. Do you buy or sell over? Let's say buy or sell over 50, 50.5. Do you think there'll be? You think there'll be a more throwing the ball downfield team like last year?
Last year they were just.
Well, I'm just trying to make a comparison. Yeah. So last year they only had. We're going down this list. Last year they had 36. They were 84th. So let's call it 50.5.
I'm gonna say just over. Like just over. Like they're not going to be like one of the most, explosive passing offenses in the country, but I do think they're going to do it because I also think it's going to be they're just going to be more efficient with it. And I think too with like one of the things with like Cone, especially like a lot of those came late in the year. Like a lot of that came late.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Last one for the offense. Buy or sell, Gerby Lambert starts on the O-line somewhere. I'm
going to say sell. I just think that it could happen. It's just that I think he gets his opportunities in the spring now to really do it. But I think I want to kind of see and hear more about him in the spring before I say buy for sure. Because I don't think that I didn't get the vibe necessarily that it was like he was necessarily like close to being like, well, just wait for Gerby's coming next year. Like I haven't gotten that vibe yet. And it's not to say that it won't happen, but I just think that they're going to have Knapp and Craig when they're back and fully healthy. Like Knapp, Craig, Jagusaw, Wagner, Schrouth. That's 5 right there. And then I don't know that Sullivan Absher, I do think he's going to be a guy who contends to be like a 6th or 7th guy. Maybe even he might be a guy who ends up pushing.
Yeah.
Right. So I just don't think it's just like I think he could start games, but I just don't know how like
day one starter. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, day one starter. I just check back with me and the whatever. But for now, I'm going to say sell.
If you're saying, go ahead.
Just because I think he's not walking in the same situation that say like Charles Jagusaw was walking in last year,
right? Yeah.
Where it was like, okay, we really need him to start, so we really need to get him ready, and also like, so the competition is way tougher, and also it's not the same kind of thing where it's like with like an Alter Fisher, it was very like evident. It was like, well, I mean, these guys are starting and they're like not gonna ever leave the lineup, they're probably gonna be 3-0, and they were, right? So so I think it's on the table, but it's sell for me until we start hearing all the Gerby is just
he's coming. Like if you were to buy and say Lambert starts, then you're saying one of Knapp or Craig is not starting, right? It's either Knapp is not playing center and he's not starting because he has nowhere to play, or he is playing center and Ashton Craig's not starting, right? So that's kind of what the situation is. Our guy Tom Redinger is our Renninger. Apparently he was somewhere with Hunter Bivin this last weekend, and Hunter Bivin gave him some quotes, and there was some things about the quarterback stuff he posted earlier about how they want to keep 2 of 3. That's definitely, they would want 2 scholarship quarterbacks who have had experience in the program, not Blake Hebert. they would want to keep those guys. But he also said, Bivens said they love Sullivan Absher. And we've kind of heard that. I know you like Sullivan Absher quite a bit. I think you think he's a good football player. I think Absher is probably a year away, right? Like, be very hard to beat out Schrouth and or Jagusa. So, you know, but look, I mean, shoot, man, you got Absher, Craig, Absher, and if you're saying to yourself, what do we do with a guy like Absher, Ashton Craig, and or Anthony Knapp, and or Gerby Lambert? Like, you're in a good spot on the offensive line.
These are good problems.
These are very good problems. The best problems you could have, especially when it comes to offensive line. If you've got problems with your media company, Jamie, you can solve those by going with VSR Media, founded by award-winning anchor Vahid Sadrazadeh. Let me just pull this up here. I didn't have it. I apologize for that. I messed it up. It was a good transition, and I messed it up. I didn't have the ad read ready to go. Founded by Notre Dame Football pregame host and Emmy award-winning anchor Vahid Sadrazadeh, VSR Media provides professional and cinematic video and photo. Whether you're looking for a collegiate or pro-level highlight reel, have a personal story to tell, or aiming to diversify and grow your business, VSR Media specializes in short and long-form video storytelling, social media management, and website design. VSR Media also captures professional headshots, senior, and sports photos. Contact them at vsrmediacompany.com. Mention Irish Sports Daily to receive 20% off your first project. Visit them online or give them a call at 574-800-9106. I'm so annoyed. Like, I've memorized the ESQ ad read, and I haven't memorized that one yet, and I have to have it at my disposal, and I didn't have it pulled up. It's just, you know, listen, it's the off season, man. You know, we're not in mid-season form right now, and I apologize.
Yeah, it's off season for everyone.
Yeah. All right, buy or sell. D tackle will be a strength in 2025. A lot of questions. You're talking about it a lot yesterday on Power Hour, but overall, you know, I don't want to make a prediction for any particular player or anything like that, but we will look at 2025 and say D tackle, that was a strength for Notre Dame's defense.
I'm gonna buy this, and I've just been thinking about it a lot lately, just because I think there's so many people competing there, that I think it is going to kind of like rise to the thing where it's like, hey, you have to be at this level to be this kind of thing, where instead of like there being like a murkiness where like everybody's kind of at this level, there's going to be probably a couple guys that kind of rise above. And I mean, I couldn't say for sure who definitely it's going to be, but I think that's what makes it interesting, right? And I think if you look at, say, like, perfect example, 2023, no one was going into the season. I mean, that was like a serious question mark going into the season, right? People were like, well, I mean, they're moving Mills back inside, and it's good for him, but, you know, we got to see how it is there, and we don't know about the depth, and, you know, Howard Cross has been good, but whatever. And then Cross, like, obviously, like, took it to a whole nother level. And I think that's out there for some guys that they have on the roster now, that they can take it to another level. And I don't know. It's just a feeling that I have. It's not necessarily like I'm going to predict like Jason Onye, now that he's back, he's going to be this, whatever. Like, although I will say, like, I watched, probably like 90 minutes of Jason Onye film last night. So I do think, like, you know, if he does some of that kind of stuff, I'm like, yeah, he's going to be like a dude. He's going to be a problem. Then it's funny. I watched, this is what I do in my spare time, people. I watch like Armel Mukum, every Armel Mukum snap, every Sean Seviano snap. I watch just a bunch of kind of stuff. And obviously too, you watch like with Seviano Mukum and you're like, yeah, it's so obvious why these guys weren't ready to play yet, but the good plays look great.
Yeah.
But it's just like, they didn't have enough of those good plays, right? I will say too, because I'm watching that. I wasn't specifically watching Donovan Heinrich. Donovan Heinrich had a really great year, and I'm people are kind of discounting him, and I know everybody's like, this guy shouldn't play because he's so small, whatever. I'm like, he's a pretty good player, man. He's a pretty good ball player.
That's why you bring him in. He can play. He's a good player. Like I think for me, when I think about this position, and you're going to see based on the other props that I have for the defense, like this defense could be kind of unbelievable. I haven't really thought about it too much. I haven't thought about 2025 at overall that much, just because it doesn't seem like the time for that. But the more I've thought about it, like, man, this defense could be, if D tackle is a strength. Oh boy. I mean, Chris Ash would have to be really like not good to have any kind of significant drop off from what they were last year. It's just the pieces. You have pieces like this, it's kind of hard to mess it up. It really is. And I think if they have, the thing is it'd be one thing if it was like I think the thing that the portal did, especially with Elijah Hughes and Jared Dawson, is it really raised the floor of this group, I think, because if it was just like Rubio, Heinisch, Mukum, Onye, and like Onye coming back from, having not played and being away from the team, then I'd have been like, that's just not enough options, right? Like I could see it not going well. I think with Hughes and Dawson coming in, now it's like you had 3 deep where you can throw out a bunch of guys who can play, who have played, right? And that's why I say I don't know about any one particular player like taking some big leap, but I think as a group, I think it could be a strength if they find the right combinations at the right times. And obviously you can supplement some of this stuff on the pass rush situation with, you can move Bryce Young inside, or you can, move Jordan Botelho inside.
Like I expect, like
you can, you can always do those things. By the way, Donovan Heinisch, again, 4th on the team in total pressures and had more sacks than Howard Cross did last year. Howard Cross obviously missed time with the ankle, but still, like from a pass rush standpoint, Donovan Heinisch was a very productive player on the inside. You would really predict that from him. So something to keep in mind there on the D line. Buy or sell. Best linebackers since 2018. I said 2018 because I feel like the Coney Tranquil duo there was just kind of, as a group, kind of a cut above everyone else. I think behind that was not as good, which is why those two had to play like 95% of the snaps in 2018. There were some like really good linebacker groups. I think in 2000 they had good linebackers, like the 98 group with Bobby Howard, Jimmy Friday. Like that was really good. Kenan Tatum and Laron Cobbins, Burt Berry, Corey Minor, 95, 96. Like those were really good linebackers. But I feel like these linebackers, I just really feel very strongly about KVA and Drake Bowen. Has been said ad nauseum on the show. I think Jalen Sneed is going to be the best version of what he's got. I think Jaden Osbury is going to get stronger. He's got his, the experience under his belt. And then you got Madden Faramo coming in, and not to mention someone like Kahanu Kias could do something, or someone like Preston Zinter could do something. Bodie Cahoon could do something. This linebacker group, it could be special, not just this year, but then years after as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that 2018 out of the last, like, if you look at from like the Brian Kelly era and Marcus Freeman eras, like you look at those years, Coney and Tranquil inside in 2018 was the best, by far the best inside linebacker duo, I think, of that group, because obviously Teo was a fantastic player, but you wouldn't put, Dan Fox or oh God, I forgot the other guy's name. Anyways, Italian guy who was like a downhill blitzer guy. But you wouldn't put those two in combination with Teo in the same league, because Teo was great, but those guys weren't on the same level as like a Tranquil and a Coney together. Because I really think like Tranquil and Coney, you would say like you would probably wouldn't trade either of those guys for anybody. Like that's just kind of how good they were. So I think that, yeah, Carlo, yeah, Calabrese, yeah. I really just think that this year, like, one,
his people are going to come after you for forgetting.
Yes, they are. If you look at where they're at this year, especially if you look at like Jaden Osbury, I don't know that Jaden Osbury is going to start. I don't even know. Like, he could be the fourth linebacker. He could be the fifth linebacker. I don't know. Right. Also, wouldn't put it above that he ends up being just an absolute stud this year and just took a huge jump. Like, I think everybody's kind of got it penciled in that Bowen, like Drake Bowen, is going to be like, take another leap. He was obviously very good, you know, in his first year as a starter. And I think like KVA, I think it's just an expectation he is going to be that level. I just think that they are going to have, with the depth with Sneed, you know, like you mentioned all those other guys too. I just think like there's so many options there. And I just think that, you know, you only play however many guys you think are good enough to play. And the fact that they played 5 guys last year, like, and I think they'll play at least 5 guys again this year, like, that says a lot. And I think there's just no way that out of that group, you aren't going to get guys who play at like a superior level. So I think for really the next 2 years at linebacker are going to be like scary good for Notre Dame.
Yeah. I mean, there's too much talent there, and it's got proven talent. Like Bowen is going to, I think he's going to be a captain next year. He'll start in 2026. KVA, I think, will be a captain and start in 2026. You still have Jaden Osbury, Madden Framo. I mean, that's like special times for Notre Dame at the linebacker position. And then you have Jalen Sneed, who's, again, coming into, I think he's going to be the best version of what he has. And I think he's going to be a very good player for Notre Dame. You know, Jason Smith says Preston Zinter. It's like every time I watch him, I like him. You know, see Bodie Cahoon on special teams, like doing stuff, you know, like I said, Kahanu Kia, like he's a guy who every time he's been on the field, he's done stuff, right? It's just a special time for Notre Dame at the linebacker position. Last one, buy or sell. Notre Dame secondary better than 2024. What do you think?
I mean, I'm going to sell only because I just think that I think it's going to be just slightly not quite, because they're the best secondary in the country last year, you know, just throughout the year. And I just think that Xavier Watts was just playing at such a high level that no matter the combination that they put in there, they're not going to get that exact same. It's not going to match that. Like Moore, I think, will probably be better, which is scary. He'll probably be better. I think Christian Gray, like, so many people are just willing to throw Christian Gray just like into the dumpster because of, like, you know, how things ended for him on the season. I'm not even just talking about the final play. I'm talking about from USC game on. I think there's just a lot of reason to believe that he is going to be a better player than he was this year, and like could easily take like a jump to get to like a really, really high level. And where I do think there's, you know, Devontae Smith, I think is going to be a really good nickel.
Yeah.
I do think they're going to have answers at safety. Like, I think they're going to find, you know, who they want there. I do think they, you know, Hobbs could be one of these freshmen that is like a good third or fourth. I think they'll have 4 corners this year.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to be a little bit deeper. And I think they'll be a little bit deeper at safety too. I just think when I'm looking at, and I still think it'll be an elite pass defense. Yeah. But I just think when I look at not having X Watts was just so good last year. He was just unbelievable, like an eraser in so many ways that I think it's just to ask somebody to come in and be that, even though I think Schuler will be a better player than he is this year. I don't know if Schuler is going to be like, I mean, Schuler's still got multiple years of eligibility left. I don't know if like Schuler can maybe get to that point, but it's tough to be that right away. That's just how I kind of see it.
Yeah, that's the thing that keeps me from it is like Watts was just so special. Like he just didn't make mistakes. He made plays on top of it. Like he never busted, and he never gave up that play where it's like, what's he doing? You know, like it just never happened. And on top of that, again, he was a playmaker as well. So you're losing that. It's hard to replace it. Can they get someone to come in to be what Schuler was last year? You know, is the question. Like I am a sell on this too, just because again, you can't replicate the Xavier Watts thing. It's such a there's things about him that you can't even really quantify with anything, but just his presence makes it work. And again, when you lose it, you don't know where it's lost until it kind of shows up in games. And there will be little moments there where you think, that never happened with Xavier Watts. You know, I do think Gray, he just had one deficiency where it was just like turning and running. I wonder if Chris Ash can put him in different situations where that deficiency is kind of mitigated a little bit, right? I wonder if, like, you know, some of his more of his cover four match concepts can kind of help Christian Gray along with that. And, you know, he's not as vulnerable as he has been in the past. That'll be interesting to me because Christian Gray is like it was his first year as a starter. Like,
yeah,
people act like he's been in the program for like 3 years, you know. It was his first full season as a starter. He made a number of huge plays, not just that, but as a tackler too. Like he came up big as a tackler. And I think that part was like, that kind of gets lost as well. I mean, we talk about loud misses a lot, the loudest of misses for Christian Gray last year, but he also had some really loud like hits or very loud, like big plays. So I think a lot of people view Christian Gray as someone that they're looking to replace. I don't think that's true at all.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah. I think that's not correct. Good football player, in my opinion. I think Leonard Moore, he's a special football player.
Yeah.
So there's that. I think Adon Schuler, like you said, is going to take leaps. The Talich, Urlacher, Bronte Johnson spring development is going to be something that we're following closely. Is just like it'll be interesting to see who kind of takes that step. You know, someone is going to, right? I think they'll all play well. Someone is going to kind of be like, hey, that guy, like he just looks really good. That'll be interesting to watch. Devontae Smith will be interesting. Carson Hobbs will be interesting. It's going to be like the secondary is going to be a very fun position to kind of follow and track, you know, the things that we're hearing there. I don't know how much we're going to see from them in terms of practice time, but it'll be interesting to track and kind of see the trends that are going on there. Rajon asks, do you think getting Gray a bit more rest is in order? We know Mike Mickens likes to rotate corners, so I think that would be nice, right? If they had those guys like Carson Hobbs, one of the freshmen can come in and try to be, you know, that fourth corner. He does like to rotate corners. He did it with Ben Morrison and Cam Hart in 2023, you know, so those are really good players. He was willing to take them off the field for Jaden Mickey and Christian Gray. So, you know, it's good for them long term, right? Christian Gray played a ton of snaps last year. So, yeah. What do you think, Jamie? Do you think that was a good buy or sell session for us today? Covered some good topics.
Yeah, I think it was good. I'm like, honestly, too, like I think some of the stuff, the quarterback thing is always going to be the main topic, right? Yeah. That it's going to be really interesting because I think it's, in a weird way, it's not really being talked about enough. You know, like it usually would dominate kind of conversation, and I think that you know, because they kind of just figure, like, I think they think, oh, one of those guys will win and they'll be good.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it's going to be. But, you know, there is going to be fallout from it. Like, you know, not all those guys are going to be around. And yeah, like, I'm sorry, the guy who said he was talking to Harris Biven, but like, yeah, they hope they have 2 out of 3 still stick around for the season. Like, you hope, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So we'll be monitoring throughout the time. That'll do it for us today. Thank you everyone for tuning in. As always, hit that like button, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. So whatever it is, we're going live. We'll be back on Thursday. Me and Jamie will be back, and then I'll be back with Dara as well. I'll let you know. I'll let everybody know what kind of time we're looking at for that, and you know, we'll see how we're gonna work it. Dara and I might just go live right after Jamie and I speak, and then we'll just kind of combine the 2 shows. So stay tuned for that. All right, have a good rest of your day, everyone. We'll talk to you soon. Keep hitting and hustling.